Bad news is we're in a tight buying climate. The good news is we're in an inflection point, and we are in a significant inflection point, and these inflection points always create new leaders. Can you bring the market something new and fresh, a fresh viewpoint, wake them up with a different conversation? Can you own a problem and sell the problem, not the product? There's so much AI washing right now. Most people, what they do, legacy companies, they just stick AI on the front of what they do and say we're AI, right?
Welcome to Winning Wednesdays with Pear VC, where the early stage founder community gathers to learn real go-to-market tactics and level up their game. Each week, we share fast, tactical insights to help you win your first customers, close bigger deals, and grow smarter. Whether it's discovery fundamentals, upselling, partner selling, or gritty stories from founders who've been in your shoes, this is your midweek shot of momentum. Let's win together. I am so thrilled to have Bob Wright with us, who will walk us through all of the ins and outs of having breakthrough storytelling. Bob is the founder and managing director of Firebrick. With over 25 years of experience in the B2B tech industry, he specializes in the creation of breakaway strategies and unblocking critical problems to build substantial market value. He has been at the vanguard of innovative positioning strategies for the industry and is a frequent speaker and guest lecturer on this topic. Bob brings a unique combination of operational experience and a strategic viewpoint, which allow him to help both emerging growth companies and global leaders on accelerating substantial revenue growth and unfair market advantage. Bob has driven category leadership and differentiation strategies for over 300 B2B tech companies, including Workday, Cisco, Coupa, and category creators such as Calendly, Auditboard, GitLab, and a new class of AI native disruptors, including Abnormal.AI and Eightfold.AI and Komodo Health. It's such a privilege to have you here today, Bob. I am so excited for all the things that you'll share. And I should also mention that Bob is joined by Laura, who is on his team, and I'm super eager to jump right into the content and hear all the insights. Folks, we will go through Bob's presentation first and then transition to questions, prioritizing live questions for those in the room. So please engage, make a note of the questions that come up as Bob presents. You can turn on cameras and we will get started. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here, Bob.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity. I always love spreading the word about positioning and really what it takes to help drive differentiation and category leadership. I have a special fondness particularly for entrepreneurs. I think it takes something special to bring something new into this world. And of course, we've worked with numerous startups and scale-up companies, if you will. So welcome, everybody. If you guys could mute your microphone, that would be really great. And then we can get started. Thank you. All right. What I'm going to discuss with you is really what I call the secrets of Silicon Valley. It's simply, I only do one thing, just B2B tech and positioning. So this is just going to be what I've learned over doing this for 25 plus years for over 300 B2B tech companies. Finding out what works, what doesn't work, and we put it in our process. So I thought it'd be important to share what the success principles are for scale up and category leadership that I wish somebody would have told me when I was a product marketing person at a software company. So let's begin. First slide is I think it's safe to say that the old B2B world has disappeared. We are in a completely new B2B tech world. We've made a fundamental shift from land grab to actually growth efficiency that's being awarded. The problem we're running in is we have fewer buying cycles, hit a click. We've got too many vendors chasing fewer buying cycles. For many of our clients, status quo, do nothing is the competition. And we got a lot of noisy markets right now with a lot of desperate vendors. Next slide. As a result, our buyers now are sophisticated buyers, and they're really just tuning out our feature function pitches. It's not moving the needle at all. And all this AI washing is not going to save the day. Next slide. The unfortunate are there are some hard truths that when we do positioning for tech companies, we take executive teams through a positioning process, and what pops out of it is a positioning story, a market-facing deck, if you will, that is a first call sales deck or can be used really to talk to market analysts or financial analysts. When we come to positioning, we come to with an understanding of these are the hard truths that most tech companies are facing. The first one is, next slide, is that frankly, no executive buyer wants any more technology. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want any more vendors. Second truth is, it's coming, is that executive buyers frankly do not care how your product works. We are enamored about our technology, and frankly, they don't care about our feature functions or how our product works. And the superior product rarely wins. I came out of the database wars many, many years ago, worked for a company called Ingress. We were roadkill by Oracle, even though we had the technologically superior product. And next slide. The other truth we face is that most companies are organized for yesterday's buyers. When we look at position, we always ask is, who is your next set of buyers and what do they look like? And they often look very different from who you may have sold a year or two ago. So here's what we've learned. These are some of the founder-led growth leader clients that we've worked with to help them scale up, create categories, and clear differentiation, if you will. Next slide. And what we found is really any of these companies that have realized substantial growth and valuation, what do they all have in common? Well, strong positioning. Strong positioning unlocks scale up and builds category leadership. I always say, next slide, can you give your product the positioning and the story it deserves? And when done right, positioning will accelerate your scale up. It helps you cut through the noise. It can create urgency in sales cycle and provide clear differentiation from you and the competition. The result is, if you do positioning right, it can improve your win-loss ratio. It can help you create urgency, turn your nice-to-have product into a gotta-have product. It can actually help you command and justify a premium price, a higher ACV, and also take your buyers on a journey and set up an expansion motion to drive your CLV. Next slide. And it fundamentally helps you build category leadership and justify a higher valuation, either from your next round or an exit strategy. The good news is, the bad news is we're in a tight buying climate. The good news is we're in an inflection point, and we are in a significant inflection point, and these inflection points always create new leaders. Enterprise AI is the positioning opportunity that's going to create a new category of leaders, just like an ERP created SAP, Web 2.0, Google and Salesforce, Cloud, AWS, AI, NVIDIA, and who else are now going to be the next set of category leaders. So it's a prime opportunity now for startups actually to disrupt the existing status quo. So the question is, how do you even know if you have a positioning issue or a positioning problem? Next slide. Well, first off, it takes 38 slides and a demo to explain what you do. You're explaining, not selling. Second symptom is everybody in your company, all your sales reps, all your executives are using a different deck. Next slide. You are me too. In other words, you sound exactly like your competitors. You put your logo on your competitor's website. Everybody sounds the same. Or worse, your sales teams and sales cycles are held back by no urgency. You got a low ARR. You're in these feature wars, or you're nice to add product, or you didn't even know how to create a category, have a category strategy. Or finally, the big one, your parents don't know what you do for a living. Now, what we did was Anna took a really great poll, and what we heard from you about some of the positioning challenges that you're facing is here's what we heard from some of you. We got to focus. How do we position when we're in a place where we can solve all these different problems? I may have a platform that can solve different problems. Where do we focus? How do we move past the we love it to nice to have to I actually need it? How do we position our AI-powered solution in a way that doesn't make our buyers feel threatened or it's going to take their jobs away? At what point do you expect founders to shift from that scrappy discipline execution? And what signs tell you when a successful shift has happened? We also heard one of the key questions, what's the best approach to introduce your product to customers at an early stage or get my first set of customers? And how do you best position between two product extremes in a category? We've got the vendors that have the expensive gold standard. On the other hand, we got the cheap and fast vendors. How do we position in that type of category? Next slide. Well, first principle is positioning is not a marketing initiative. It is a CEO executive-wide initiative. When we run our process, we run it through the executive team. Certainly, it can help fuel your marketing investments. But if you do positioning right, it will become your North Star for your company. It can help you accelerate sales cycle traction. It can help you get your leadership team aligned around a single voice, a single strategy. But also, it can be used to build category leadership and valuation, help focus your product priorities, and be really a rallying cry and get employees motivated. So the way we position is a company initiative, not a marketing initiative. Next slide. But let's clear up the confusion. There's a lot of confusion in our B2B world about positioning and branding. And from our experience, there's real clear distinction between positioning, branding, and messaging. Branding is the corporate identity, the logo, the visual identity, the experience, the tone maybe of your communication. Messaging is simply communicating a concise description of what you do. But positioning is all about how do I shape and own a distinct corner of the room in the category? How do I build a leadership position in the category and drive revenue growth? We're clearly in the positioning camp. We are not a branding company. I'm going to talk to you specifically about positioning principles. Of course, messaging comes along with positioning, but what we're going to discuss today is not branding. It's going to talk about positioning. So the question is, what does it take? What's good positioning look like? Well, there are 5 rules for positioning, for breakthrough positioning. The first fundamental model that we've been using is a fundamental shift from a product-centric conversation about how your product works to a buyer-centric conversation about why you matter. And if you don't remember anything else in this presentation, remember this. Again, the feature, function, how it works, to a why you matter conversation is key to successful breakthrough positioning. Next slide. And specifically, what's called for in good positioning is good positioning. Your positioning story or your sales deck needs to answer the 3 key questions for your target buyer. Why your company or product now? Not last year, not 5 years ago, but now. What is the urgent multi-million-dollar executive level problem that your product solves? Secondly, how can you uniquely solve it? How are you different? What is your unique genius or IP that allows you to uniquely solve today's urgent multi-million-dollar problem? But you can't forget the third one. How are you going to make my life better as your buyer? How do you make me a hero? Can you take me to a promised land? My life's on hell. How can you solve it? Take me to a promised land. No conversation in here about how it works, because if you answer these 3 questions, they're going to raise their hand and go, oh my God, show me how it works. And then you can bring in your feature slides and your demos and all the good stuff. We love to talk about our products. But again, the why you matter is key to successful breakthrough positioning model. Within that model, there are 5 success principles. Number 1, first principle is you have to get really, really clear about who this positioning for. Who is your target buyer? And we call that, who is your Mary? Mary, and let me tell you where the Mary concept came from. During the last depression, many of your companies weren't even started maybe by then. There was a clothing company in the tundra of Minnesota that was doing really, really well. And all the other competitors were stalled out or going out of business. And the Wall Street Journal trudged up there and sat down the CEO and said, good Lord, it's a recession. Don't you know that? Why are you doing so well and driving these growth rates and all your competitors are stalled out or going out of business? And the CEO turns to him and says, well, we sell to Mary. And then he just spent an hour talking about Mary, what Mary loves, what Mary's aspirations are, what Mary's motivations are. And I think we do a very, very poor job in our B2B tech world really understanding our Mary. So it's really, really important to understand who is your Mary, who is your target buyer. Now, we are in B2B tech, and in B2B tech, there are generally multiple buyers and influencers in our sales cycles, larger buying groups today, in fact. The question is, who is your Mary? And I always say, drive the positioning story to the one person that if they said yes and everybody else said no, they'd still go with your solution. It's generally an executive, and it's somebody that's got some money that can fund the initiative. That's your Mary. Now, a lot of tech companies can't actually engage a Mary. It might be a CIO, CSO, CFO, they're a lower level in the organization. You can still arm your champion with an executive level conversation that they can take to your Mary to unhook funds and go with your solution. So the number one principle in good positioning is making sure you really understand who this positioning is for. Now, if you have you may already have a whole bunch of customers. The question is, who are your next set of customers and what do they look like? Your first set of customers may look very, very different. They may be more willing to take a risk on a new vendor, a new technology. They may be more entrepreneurial. It may be smaller companies. The question is, where's your revenue growth going to come from? And what do those customers look like? And that is who you're marrying, and that's who you need to position to. So number one is buyer-centric model is who you're marrying. Number two, really, really key, is you have to own a problem. Sell the problem, not the product. Sell the problem, not the product. Name the problem that you solve. What is the multi-million-dollar executive level business problem that your product solves? Is it the legacy trap? Is it the I can't close my books fast enough trap? Is it the risk escalation crisis? It's really, really important to name the problem because buyers buy from problems, not products. So really, really key to own a problem, understand what Mary problem you own, what problem you own for your Mary, and sell the problem, name the problem, don't sell the product. Third key principle, not only understand your Mary and sell to their problem, but it's really important you take a corner of the room. Imagine that the room you're in right now is the market category that you compete in. Your target Mary walks into the room and they see you and all your other competitors and you're all bunched in the middle of the room. It's a bad place to be because what's Mary going to do? They're either going to not make a decision because they can't tell the difference between you and everybody, all your other competitors, or what they're going to do is go with a brand name company. Heck, everybody looks the same. I'll just go with Salesforce. If you're a Salesforce, if you're a Workday, if you're a ServiceNow, that's Oracle. That's a great place to be because you want everybody to look the same because they're the safe choice and they're the brand name company. That's why the positioning strategy for all the category leaders is anytime any new technology enters that category, they say, oh, we're going to come out with that technology in 12 to 18 months. They want the categories to look commoditized so that they can, because that gives them an unfair advantage as a brand category leader. Everybody else, that's a bad place to be. What you really want to do is when Mary comes into that category, into your room, you want to own a very clear, distinct corner of the room, and likewise box your competition into other corners of the room. Oh, Mary, that competitor ABC, great competitor. They sit over in that corner over there because they solve a different problem. Oh, competitor XYZ, another great competitor too. They sit over in this other corner because they're for a completely different buyer. But you, Mary, and your big hairy problem, that's what we solve. And that's why we sit in this corner room. So it's really, really important to ask yourself, what corner of the room can we own in the category? And can we create clear differentiation, distinction from all in the category? Perspective that the buyers can take to the boardroom. Maybe there's a different take on the problem. Maybe there's they're bringing them something different, not about technology, but about business issues and problems. It's really, really important that you have a viewpoint. Salesforce is the poster child for that. Every single year, they have a different viewpoint about something that their buyers deeply care about. And it's not about their technology. It's usually about customer experience and that sort of thing. But it's really, really important for any tech company to have a strong viewpoint. Generally, the viewpoint is about the problem that they solve. All right, number 5, fifth one, last one, is take your buyers on a journey. With a lot of tech companies, there's 2 things that are happening. Number 1, you have some future capabilities that'll be coming out in the next 12 to 18 months The question is, when do you introduce those in sales cycles? Are you selling vision? And then when they implement the product, the tech's not there that you promised. A prime way to manage the expectations of your buyers and still introduce future technologies, take your buyers on a journey. Maybe there's a 5-step journey, and you take customers from the status quo where they are to the first stage in the journey, which is capabilities you can offer today. But quickly, you'll take them on the stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, and you can build a case that we're going to take you on this journey over time. We're the only ones that can take you on this journey. The competition might be able to take you to the second stage, but we're the only ones that can take you all on this journey. And it also helps you set up your expansion motion as well. Once you've done with phase 1 or phase 2, go to phase 3, you can buy this other product in our portfolio or this other capability in our portfolio. So again, who's your Mary? Own a problem, take a corner of the room, have a strong viewpoint, and take your buyers on a journey. Show them a promised land. Those are the 5 principles. So the question is, how do I put this buyer-centric model and these 5 principles actually into, this is great, Bob, but how do you put it into action? Right? How do you tell a better story? So let me show you well, first off, please ban all your geek speak. Words like flexible, comprehensive, collaborative, even AI, agile, easy to use. These words mean nothing anymore. A glazed look is set over our buyers. Please use fresh language. These words don't mean anything anymore. But let's talk about what your slide deck might look like. Here's a typical B2B tech presentation, your 10 slides. Slide 1, here's our great product for the cloud mobile AI world. Here's our great platform. Slide 3, we got a great monitoring feature. And you know what? We got great data and AI analytics on top of it. Here's stats, the back why we're so great. Slide 6, here's some cool screenshots and our product works. Here's the requisite logo splash slide, and we're cool because we got wonderful executives and we have a company dog, and you'd be crazy not to buy our cool product. This is the wrong way. This is the typical B2B presentation, and it's not going to get you anywhere. This is all about you, yourself, and your technology. And again, these feature function type of presentations no longer work. Let us show you a better way using this buyer-centric model and these 5 principles. Slide number 1. You know what, Mary? Recent market dynamics are happening right now, and your world has changed. You know what? It's causing you a big problem. And slide 3, you know what? That problem is going to get worse, so you'll probably lose your job. Slide 4, traditional approaches, i.e. your competition or the status quo, will not solve this problem. Slide 5, here's the 5 requirements of what you need. These are the buying requirements, what you need to solve that problem. Slide 6, then we introduce your company. Slide 7, we bubble up your differentiation to 3 value-based pillar headlines. Behind it, we put the supporting evidence and proof points and architecture. Then we show how your life would be better, what your problem is when it's all cleaned up, and finally, a call to action. This is the positioning deck, if you will, that the growth leaders are using. This kind of framework, the growth leaders are using to drive growth levels higher than their competitor and build category leadership as well. Go to the next slide. So here's another way to look at this lens. Again, you start with a problem, name the multi-million-dollar problem, and then you show a promised land. You need to move from this state to this state, Mary. And you know what? Here's the 5 criteria you need to get to that promised land and solve that problem. Then introduce your company, then bubble up your differentiation into value-based pillars, connect it to your architecture and your products and services, and then do a call to action. Again, this is the buyer-centric framework or model that for a breakthrough positioning story. Next slide. So I always say, if you get your positioning right, your buyers and probably your employees will never see you the same way again. What we do is when we take executives through a positioning process, you talk about yourself like this. What's the bigger conversation that's available to you that's going to wake up the market with a different viewpoint and drive clear differentiation and urgency in sales cycles? And I always know we've done our job right when the client's going, oh, it could be that, and they can still recognize themselves in it. Then we know we've done a good job. So can you bring the market something new and fresh, a fresh viewpoint, wake them up with a different conversation? Can you own a problem and sell the problem, not the product? And then set the buying criteria up in your favor with clear differentiation to actually solve that problem. Next slide. So let's take a look at what this really looks like. What I want to show you is a startup that we worked with a number of years ago. And I'll show you the before after deck to show, again, these principles in place. This company was in Portland. They were a cloud billing company. You know how you get your bill from AWS or from Azure, and you're looking at the bill, and then the next month you look at your bill, what the hell happened? That's what they do. At that time, it was a new category. So is this a CFO issue? Is it an IT issue? The second problem two other issues they had. They had a competitor that had a bigger platform that was offering this capability as simply a feature in that platform. And they had a superior sales force. So frankly, they were kicking this company butt in sales cycles. Their win-loss ratio was horrible. And the other thing that was happening is now Microsoft, Azure and AWS were coming out with good enough capabilities. So the founder came to me and said, man, I'm afraid we created this category, but it's getting away from me. So this is the way they were talking about their product and company, the cloud billing company. Keep going. There's a car. That's yesterday's car. Today's car's got a bunch of stuff. I don't know. Some founders like cars and stuff. So, and then here's a better cloud, more for less. Here's our mission. Our mission is to help you run your cloud like run your business. Here's how it works. It's better, faster, cheaper. And then, of course, the requisite low splash slides of their customers. And then here's your bill right now. Here's your bill all cleaned up with us. And then here's some statistics on your spending, et cetera, et cetera. So very product centric, very feature centric. It's all about that. So let me show you what we did with this company. We actually took them through this process and used our model, again, the buyer-centric model and that framework to build this position story. Now, this is a long version. I'm going to show it to you. There was a 7-slide version they armed the field sales organization for, but it's really important to show you the logic, if you will, of the story. So we start with the conversation just saying, hey, because they have really good customers. After working with all these cloud adopters, we have a strong opinion about what you need for cloud success. Next slide. From our viewpoint, success is running cloud with the same precision and the same accuracy you run the rest of your business with known financials, known utilization, and full accountability. Next slide. Here comes the reframe. It's not whether your bill is correct or not. The real issue is, how does IT deliver 100x more out of their cloud at the same budget or continuously lowering costs? Next slide. And the only way you can do that is you have to have something called the true cost equation. It's not only the list price, but you have to understand the discounts, the allocations, the reservations, the amortizations of your cloud. And next slide, you have to do this for every cloud. You have to do this precise true cost for every cloud, every department, every workload, every user, and do this moment by moment. So we came up with a thematic theme called true cost. And again, we connected it. You got to get 100x more out of your cloud for the same budget. Next slide. The problem is true cloud is really, really hard to do because, next slide. Because your business is always changing. Your cloud infrastructure is always evolving. Your cloud vendors keep sending you releases. Next slide. And every single cloud is run differently. And as a result, next slide, that's create a tsunami, an avalanche of billing and utilization data points that most companies are simply ill-equipped to handle. Next slide. So the question is, what do you have to do to determine this true cost to get 100x more out of your cloud at the same budget? Next slide. Here's the buying requirements. First off, you've got to have a platform with advanced automation, AI, and curated data that transforms your raw billing data, calculates true cost, puts governance in, next one, and then actually operationalizes true cost within your business. Next slide. The good news is there's a movement of cloud adopters and brand name companies that have already gone to this true cloud cost. The answer is this software company. Now, the question is, why this company called Cloudability? Well, there's 3 key differentiators. Number one, with Cloudability, with this company, we'll give you capabilities for true cost. Secondly, we'll give you additional features on our true cost platform. You can act with certainty. And then they actually had some really interesting expertise, cloud expertise and services. So we packaged that up into a pillar called, and with us, we can help you get better every day. Next slide. So what we did for each one of these pillars is we actually put the proof points and features behind it. So one of the reasons we're different is because we deliver true costs you can trust. We give you the mathematical certainty, the intelligent decisions, and the accountability and governance. Next slide. And with Get Better Every Day, this is the algorithms, the detection anomaly, and the policy-driven automation. Next slide. Get Better Every Day is our services and our expertise and our knowledge. And then finally, next slide, it's a summary of what the true cost can deliver. And then finally, we built an architecture for them. This is what it looks like. We made the true cost engine look really, really hard to do. On the left is the data feeds going through an ETL process into your data lake. On the right are the use case solutions. And on the very far right are all the users, if you will, this true cost equation. And again, this is built on the true cost platform. Next slide, a couple more slides here that are really important. We do a summary. And is there another slide after this, Lauren? Shoot. Well, we had a journey slide in here. And so one of the things we also did with them was a journey, which showed how you can go along this journey, if you will, with them. But anyway, I think what you can see is we did a complete reframe. It's not whether you're cloud billing. It's not cloud billing software. It's whether, how do I get 100x more out of my cloud at the same budget? I have to have this thing true cost. Then we define what true cost is. And I tell you, this company took off. Their win-loss ratio, when they're winning 1 deals out of every 5 deals, they started winning like 3 deals out of every 5 deals. The market analysts start picking up the conversation about true cost. And they were sold for a really, really nice valuation, actually by the competitor that had that big platform. So it was a real testament of the power of positioning. Now they had to operationalize it. They had some good salespeople. They were able to pick it up. But I think the positioning really uplifted the conversation into the for this company about the transformational value that they're really delivering, brought something different to the market, a different conversation to the market, and made, frankly, the CIO a hero. So I hope that's helpful to show not only the model, the buyer-centric model, the principles, what your 10 slides look like, and then actually what it looks like in person. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. That example, I think, really crystallized so much of what you were saying. So I'm really happy that you closed with that. And one thing that I'm left with is, I'm sure the Marys, right? The Marys that they were speaking to with that new messaging felt like, wow, thank you. You're vocalizing and codifying something that I know in my lived experience, but you're presenting it to me in this way that where I can think through it. And there's this insight that is immediately delivering value and trust. And, it doesn't surprise me that they saw such a big lift in their conversion for sales. So,
well, a couple more context. At one time, is this a CFO conversation or a CIO conversation? We made a strategic decision in the process from a position we're going to go after the CIO and we're going to make them a hero. CIOs had the worst job. Everybody's bitching at them all day, right? Nothing's right, nothing's wrong. And we were imagining, can you imagine a CIO going to their executive committee and say, look, I'm going to get you 100x more out of this cloud, at the same budget, and I can continue lowering my costs. Oh, we want that. Well, here's what we're going to do it. And of course, this is the only platform that could do it. So it really made them a hero, particularly in front of the executive teams. And at first, they weren't able to get to the CIO. So they were down at the director level, and the director was giving that deck or that conversation to the CIO, and they opened the doors there. And eventually, they were able to earn the right to go directly with CIOs. So a lot of their sales cycle toward the end, they were actually engaging directly with CIOs.
Yeah, that's incredible and so applicable, I know, to so many of our portfolio companies. So folks, we want to transition now to questions for Bob. I'm sure there are so many different directions we could take this conversation. Please feel free to raise your hand, drop questions in the chat. If you have particular messaging things that you want to literally put on the table that we can go through right now. If you maybe feel stuck between two different personas, like I could sell to either of these, which is the right one? This is a great moment, I think, to work through and talk through some of those questions. So, folks in the room, I want to give you a minute for questions. And then if not, I can go to the list of pre-submitted questions that we received too. Anyone with questions? Yeah, Bob's in the chat. Thanks for that, Bob.
Don't be bashful.
I know.
Okay, oftentimes we are not getting to the actual buyer in the first meeting as we're navigating the organization. Very, very typical. As I mentioned before, no executive buyer wants to talk to a tech vendor. They got more than enough tech. Can you imagine if you're a CISO, how many security company vendors are trying to talk to you? It's maddening. So it's often, particularly if you're a startup, it's very rare you're actually going to get to talk to an executive, other than maybe your board members provide personal introductions. And so you're going to probably land lower in the organization. Still, the question is, can you arm that lower level person that you can get to, a director of IT, for example? Can you arm them with the executive level conversation, saying, look, we're going to make you a hero. Here's the good stuff we're going to do. We're going to give this true cost equation so you can help make sense of your cloud. But you know what? Here's the value to your boss. Why don't you run this up to your boss and see if they're interested to it? And that's the way to do it. So a lot of times, again, you can't get to the actual person that has the money and the big budgets, but you can arm your champion and coach in sales cycles with that larger conversation. But again, in your deck and your story, you have to have benefits for that person as well, too. But that's the way we've seen a lot of our clients do it, is be able to hop up to that executive buyer. Good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I can jump in with one too, Bob, while we wait for others. I think one of the big struggles I see often in early stage founders is sort of indecision or an uncertainty about where to that corner that you said to pick in a room. And I'm wondering if you could speak to getting to a point of conviction, how you've seen early stage founders get there, and if you've seen even folks pivot from like this corner of the room to another, and your advice there, I think would be really relevant.
In my experience, it's very common. What happens is you build a product and you're just calling on anything that moves, and you might end up with 10 customers and they all look completely different. You're like, oh geez, what do we do now? That's totally appropriate. You got to, prove product market fit. You have to get you got to give your investors some confidence that you're going to drive some revenue, and and the market is going to want this. But at some point, you're going to have to choose, right, and focus. And like we did the very first positioning for Workday when they had no customers at all. And, they were calling on every CHRO in the world because that's all they had at that time. And, when we came in, they had after a while, they had like 10 customers. And we started looking at trigger events happening. And the CHROs the trigger event that seemed to happen that caused most of the CHROs to raise their hand and actually sign a contract with them, right? A subscription with them, were the ones whose maintenance fee was coming up from their PeopleSoft or their Oracle, right? So then they decided, we're going to double down on that. We're only going to go after the Marys, who they have these big old on-premise maintenance contracts coming up, because that's the big trigger event, and that's who we're going to focus on. So I think it's very appropriate to just get a handful of customers at first, but at some point in the stage of your company to scale, you're going to have to focus. And generally, I look for patterns in buyers, but also problems, and also in trigger events. And that's when you may have 2 or 3 that look like that. Okay, good. We're going to double down on that. And that's how our Mary is going to be.
Yeah, that's great. Addie has a question here in the chat. Is your perspective that when we do eventually get to talk about our product, we should discuss our product's complexity rather to simplify it, to demonstrate we're smart and have made something legitimate? I think to the point of that slide, where you said you made the problem, getting to true cost look complex. Yeah. I think, Addie, if you can jump in to clarify if that's what you mean or not. But I guess the question here is like, when do you lean towards complexity and when do you lean more towards simplicity?
Well, I think simplicity and explanation is really, really important. So simplifying the complexity into a conversation people can digest and understand. Everybody's got short attention spans right now is really, really important. That's why we had the thematic theme of true cost. Now, the second question is, well, hell, I'll just do this myself, or I'll just go to Microsoft. They got good enough is okay, right? So that's why when we built the architecture, we looked like it was really, really hard to do. And we put the complexity in there and they're thinking, holy Christ, we'll never be able to build this kind of thing. So that's how we visually were able to present the complexity in a visual manner rather than trying to spend 38 slides to explain the complexity, which nobody can sit through anymore today.
I had a question about somebody submitted this question at the point of registration, but around threats and the right now we're living through a time when jobs will change, right? AI is going to fundamentally change how we work. And so there's going to be this, some jobs will be eliminated, some jobs will be created. And so sort of the reality is that oftentimes folks are building software that will eliminate jobs, and
Totally.
to navigate that threat and present
Yeah.
it quickly and yet make them the hero.
That's a really great question. We've been doing a lot of AI positioning, not only for AI native companies, but a lot of companies, even like Coupa and HPE and et cetera, that have to have an AI strategy. First off, there's so much AI washing right now. Most people, what they do, legacy companies, they just stick AI on the front of what they do and say we're AI, right? It's so lame. And it's like, everybody said they were cloud, and there's true cloud and cloud first. So there's a lot of confusion right now, a lot of AI washing. I have so much to say about AI. I think what's moving the needle in AI, couple things. You have to have specificity about your type of AI. Name your AI. It has a specialized purpose. So it's not generic chat GPT, right? It's specialized AI, purposeful AI. Maybe even name it, right? To give it a name. The other thing is too, the data is really, really important. AI is useless without really, really good data. We had a client of ours, Coupa, right? Old school legacy company purchasing. Good Lord. And the good news is they had customer permission for all the supply data for like 20 years. Hello. They woke up, the new CEO goes, this is okay, specialized AI on top of this, and we're going to be an AI player. We named the data. We called it global economy data, right? And then we actually named their AI. So and that created difference between all the other AI washing that's happening out there. So the advice in the AI world is name your AI, name your data, to create distinction and differentiation between all the other AI washing. Now, the other question is, oh, I'm bringing out an AI message. Who I'm delivering to that may say, oh God, you're gonna take my job. Your software's my job's gonna vanish with your software. I think it's really important to not only have the conversation about a bunch of jobs going to vanish and you can take out costs out of a company, but also the aspirational notion of AI. What's going to be really, really important is all jobs are going to change. What's going to be required is fundamental workforce reinvention to higher order skills. And can you have AI and humans work together, right, to amplify each other, right? That's the opportunity out there, is to talk about how AI is actually going to amplify your ingenuity. It's going to amplify the human potential and have more of an aspirational conversation. In addition to, it's going to take jobs, but provide an aspirational conversation about, really AI is about, it's not about putting AI in your workflows. That's not the issue. It's really how to use AI to really amplify human potential. And that's the opportunity. And that's the aspirational opportunity I would suggest you could communicate to your prospects that make it not so much of a threat, but actually a big opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. And I think connected, I want to maybe ask another question. Folks in the room, we're getting to the end here, near to the end. So if you do have questions, now's the time. I wanted to ask about urgency, and I think it's connected to what you were saying just now, Bob, but I think even sometimes when you have positioned a problem, sufficiently well, and they're bought in that it is a real problem, they need to solve it, there's still this urgency can sometimes be tricky. And I wonder if you might just speak a bit more to urgency in particular and driving towards an actual close and in a timeline that, will work and get the deal done. If you could say maybe more on that.
Yeah, I think when you're a startup, the issue is there's a risk, right, with your technology. So whoever's going to say yes is going to take a risk, right? If you got a business or it doesn't work, geez, I'll lose my job. So it's a huge risk. So it's got to be a big problem and big reward on the other end. There's two ways to do it. Number one, identify the problem. It's got to be a big, hairy, multi-million-dollar problem. But you got to build a case that the status quo, what you're doing right now, will not solve that problem. And then I always show a slide like it's like here's the, when we did with Workday, it's the acceleration gap. You got to run faster and faster, faster as a business. Where you are right now is just right here. Your existing processes, et cetera, are not going to help you run faster, right? And it's going to get worse. The volumes of data, the calibration you have to do your business, et cetera, is only going to get worse. So part of the urgency is saying, look, you think it's bad now, it's going to look even worse now. I use statistics to help third-party statistics to help validate my viewpoint. Also, it's really helpful to have customers, your own customers, that validate your viewpoint and say, look, I understand it's risky. I took the risk. Here's the value. And that helps lower their risk, if you will, of going with this. I think right now is an awesome time to be in B2B tech. It is an extraordinary moment. We do have a tight buying climate, but what's happening right now is there is structural economic change that's happening in our world today. All the old operating models of the way businesses used to be run, you can't run that way anymore. When SAP and all those guys, Salesforce came in, business ran in steady state, process reengineering, squeeze out costs for processes. That world is gone. We are in a world of uncertainty and change and disruption we've never seen before, and all the operating models are set up for a steady state business. So what's going to happen as businesses start to shift to these new operating models, they're going to need a new set of capabilities, right, that help them thrive in uncertainty and change, that provides a prime opportunity for any kind of technology company. At the same time, we got AI. AI is going to disrupt every single legacy vendor that's out there. It has the potential to do it. So that gives rise to a whole completely new set of AI native companies. And because of the acceleration of AI is happening so much faster than the internet or cloud or anything else, every company is going to go, man, I can't get left behind. So that's urgency. So there's urgency from an economic business model perspective, right? If I don't change my operating model, I will go out of business. If I don't become an AI powered business, I will go out of business. The combination of those dynamics are awesome opportunity for new technology and disruptors to come into it, because now your buyers will actually listen, because the urgency is so acute right now, both from an economic perspective and from a technology perspective. It's a very unique time to, I mean, I've been in the industry since the 90s, for Christ's sake, so this is just such a unique opportunity for anybody bringing out anything new that can help companies operate and thrive in a world of uncertainty and change, and can help them shift and quickly become an AI powered business.
Yeah,
go for it. Bring it.
I love it. Feeling fired up. Reza had another question, and then I'll close out with the question that we end all of these Winning Wednesdays with. But Reza's question is about segmentation positioning. So with horizontal products that can touch many different segments of the market at once, would you develop a positioning for the specific segments of your market? So is it like, I don't know, 7 different landing pages if you're working in 7 different verticals? How do you approach?
No, I wouldn't. You have to have one position. You can't have 7 positionings, because who are we now, right? One day we're this, one day we're that. If you do the true cost equation, right? What does true cost look for a financial services industry? Okay, so you could have use cases by industry. What does true cost equation look like for a manufacturing company? What does it look like for an advanced cloud adopter? What does it look like for a supply chain company? And you could even build a chapter on that, but still keeps the 100x IT for the same budget, the true cost equation, but use the language that in each of these chapters that's specific. So let's show up how this 100x, your runaway cloud budget crisis, it shows up in a manufacturing company. So what I would suggest is have an overarching deck. It doesn't have to be 30 slides, it may be 10 slides, but then have chapters for each of your segmentation that reinforce that, but use the specific use cases, the specific language and terminology that will resonate with those particular industries.
Oh, great question. Okay, Bob, this is the question we end all of our Winning Wednesdays with, and I love that you were kind of alluding to some of this motivation in the last answer, but building is really hard, so every founder who has taken the step of courage of putting something new into the world or going after a big incumbent, it can be a very challenging. And so the question I want to pose to you is, what practices or what have you seen the best founders do to stay motivated and keep a winning mindset in the face of many challenges and setbacks and rejection if you're selling for the first time? What's your best advice for maintaining a winning mindset?
Clean your closet. Let me tell you what that means. So when I started my business, I didn't know anybody, nothing, I was just a marketing guy and geez, had an idea, and I hired a coach. The coach came over to my place. I thought he was going to tell me, hey, here's how you build a business and scale. And the guy says, hey, clean your closet. I said, what the hell are you talking about? Get all the crap out of your closet you don't use. Only put stuff that's quality in there and then come back to me. So I did that. Oh, that's great. Okay, good. Next day he comes over. All right, tell me how to scale my business. Kim's back in and says, look, well, now you got to clean your desk and all the crap and paper and shit you got all over your inbox. And, that took about a week to do, and then I came back again. He said, all right, now you got to clean up your relationships. I'm like, holy Christ, I got a lot of baggage there. So that took about 3 or 4 weeks to do. And then I came back and he said, what the hell am I doing? He goes, you can't manifest anything if you got drag in your business. Wow. We get drag out of your business, out of your relationships, right? Because that's holding you back. So that was one of the interesting things he told me, get the drag out of your life so you create enough room for something to be manifest that's new. The second thing is it's so easy to focus on the stuff that's not working, but also focus on the stuff that is working. Because if you put more energy toward the stuff that's working, that creates more of that. And I do the same thing with people. A lot of times you're looking around, oh, the guys are doing, what's the stuff that's going wrong? First thing I tell people is all the stuff they're doing right. I look for things that people are doing right. Celebrate that because you want more of that. So whatever you put your attention to, that's going to grow. That's not ignoring problems, but if you focus on the stuff that's working, that you want to work, you want to manifest, and you clean your life out, to me, that's the way to scale up. So probably not what you expected to hear, but that's my experience.
I love it. And again, ties to what you were saying earlier about pattern matching, right? Pattern matching with existing customers is you decide which part of the corner you're going to own, or part of the room you're going to own, is basically looking for what's working, right? And so I think that really aligns. And absolutely, I love this idea of cleaning your closet, taking care of
and that
the basics. Yeah,
that's right. And so my title is, it's not partner, it's possibilitarian. That's my title.
I love that.
Because what I do is I bring more possibility to people and their lives and their businesses. So
that's very cool.
I would suggest you all be possibilitarians for your customers and your employees.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, wow. I hope everybody's feeling inspired. I know I am. Bob, this was so rich and full of incredible, actionable insight. I already know this is going to be a session that I'm pointing founders to again and again. So thank you so much for taking the time to share. Hope everybody feels closer to winning and ready to go be a possibilitarian in whatever industry you're tackling.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Laura. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.